All right, I would like to call the Tuesday, December 5th, 2023 Board of Selectmen's meeting to order. Can we all please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I do not have any announcements this evening. Is there anybody here for anything that's not currently posted on our agenda? Seeing as none, we'll go right into our first agenda item, which is a follow-up to the sign appeal for Scudo Bookshop, sandwich board sign, and possible votes. Come on up. All right, and was this on the, this was
It
taken
was
up
on the last
meeting?
agenda. What's that?
That was on the last
It was
agenda?
on the last agenda, and Selectman Bonin asked to, made a motion to continue it. Didn't ask, made a motion to continue it. To give them more opportunity with a full membership.
What'd you find?
So the latest update is I spoke to a member of the church, and he told me that about putting the sign on the common there, and he just told me that he would speak to the higher ups and get back to me, and I haven't heard from him. And that's all I have for you. I guess my question is, I understand the bylaw. If I were to get permission from the church and it's a private property, it's off the sidewalk, off town property, then is that just between us and the church at that point?
You want me to answer it?
Go ahead.
What type of sign are you talking about? If you're talking about a sandwich board sign,
I'm just talking about the sandwich board sign.
if you're talking about a sandwich board sign in the bylaw as we read the last time,
Yeah.
it's one per premise, and the intention of that was in front of your actual business.
Yeah.
But there's not to say that you couldn't put up a traditional sign there. You get a sign permit, if you have permission from the property owner, you could do that. But I think it would be in violation of the sandwich board sign bylaw, just like I explained last time.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I mean, just,
And I'm not saying some
Yes.
big crazy sign, it's just,
no, I know.
Something.
I just, just to, you guys already know the problem. I got a side unit there. I'm trying to capture eyes from the street. And the board goes out in the morning and in at night, so it's not there. But that's really all I have.
I think the solution is the more permanent, more fixed side.
That wouldn't be feasible for us. It's too expensive. We just don't make enough right now. I mean, we're like, everybody that comes into the store, we're grateful for at this point. It's not, we already don't get too much foot traffic, so we're just doing what we can.
Understood.
Yeah.
So what he's looking for from us is just an exemption or a waiver?
well, he's appealing the decision of the building commission. Because it's in the right of way. Right? So, and it's a sandwich board sign that is against the bylaw. So that's why he was given a violation notice. So what he's looking for is for us to go against the decision of the building official, right? Override it, not go against him, override his decision. And he's also, I'm assuming, looking for permission to put the sandwich board sign in the right of way.
When you say right away, can you, where's the right of way?
The street.
No, it's not in the street. It's on the common, on the grass there. It's not on the sidewalk, it's not in the street.
Okay,
It's right
so
in the
I don't have the
grass.
property lines, I couldn't tell you exactly where it is. When I ride by, I see it affixed to the outside of the granite blocks there, so I don't know where the property line is for the street, but the streets, all streets have a certain right-of-way, right? Even part of that sidewalk is part of the town property, it's not part of that building property, that, where you are. So the street's a certain width. So,
12 feet off the center line. like
no,
in
they were,
some
they were,
areas.
they were all different.
Yeah.
They're all different. Some roads are 40 feet wide, some are 60 feet wide. Up on 16, I think it was back 12 or so feet from the pavement, but not all streets are that way.
Yeah.
I think on Southwest Main Street, it's probably 5 feet past the pavement.
So yes, I'm looking for an exemption
Yeah.
to keep the board on the town common.
Challenge I have with it, I think you have options even, and I don't think you have to go a big elaborate sign. I think you could put in something that was economical, that would work for you to
Like
get.
where, onto the building itself?
No, you said you talked to the church
Correct.
property, so if you're on their property, you get permission from them to put up a sign, you go see the building inspector, and as long as it meets the size of the sign in the bylaw, then he should be able to give you a permit for that. Sandwich board sign has a specific section in the bylaw.
I
And that's,
understand.
and that's the problem that we have, right?
I
So
see.
it's not you as an individual, you gotta look at everybody, right? So if it's
Yeah.
okay for you, it's okay for everybody else that.
It's just a permanent sign seems a little overkill. You can't move it if there's an event like Oktoberfest. It's just takes up too much space. It's going to cost money that we don't have right now. So, yeah, that's my issue with going the permanent route it's just not feasible for us right now, and not for the foreseeable future either.
Well, you say you take it in and out every day. What about something like even a banner-style flag that would say books, something that's colorful and moving, that catches somebody's eye, kind of looking at your store?
In front of our property, in front of our storefront, you mean?
Or even kind of where you have that sandwich board, even if it's up one granite post and you have permission from the church. I don't know what a bylaw would.
It would have to be within their property, and I don't know how the banners fall. You'd have to check with the building commissioner to find out. That's a whole,
Just
it's a good suggestion, I just don't.
idea or something that just catches somebody's eye by color, you know, and movement. May help attract some traffic. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Well, it's a tough situation. Within the last few months, and this isn't the first sandwich board sign that came before us. And
Yeah,
that,
I'm just
and that
not-
business as well wasn't
I'm just
allowed
not
to
sure
have their
what other-
sandwich board.
I'm
What's
just
that?
not, sorry to cut you off, I'm just not sure what other businesses are around a corner that are putting a sandwich board sign out. Like, most businesses have storefronts that are on the Main Street side, so it's pretty,
Again, this isn't in front of the business, so this was another business in town that put it on another piece of property, that wasn't theirs, okay, and they were in violation, and unfortunately, they couldn't keep their sign either, so it's nothing personal, it's just they're there for a reason, right? So,
no, I understand it's not personal. I understand that.
actually, there was I think, at the same time that you received your violation, another business in town also received one, because they had one on a different piece of property, and that one's been removed. They
Yeah, I
chose
mean,
not to
I don't feel
so-
targeted by the town.
No,
that
no.
I'm the only one who got a violation.
Yeah.
That's not the case. It's really just down to, we need people in our store, and the most cost-effective and seemingly, to me, simplest solution to that is to put a sandwich board sign out on the corner, on the town common, not in the sidewalk, not in the street, during store hours only, and bringing it back in. That's my stance on it.
Yeah, we keep calling that the town common. Is that the actual town common?
That was
That's
the-
church property.
That was the
Right.
wording in the violation, town common.
Oh, okay. I believe that's just church property there. I don't think it's town common, but I could be wrong.
And that's why I raised the question earlier, if I got permission by the church to put it there, then what would the issue?
If it wasn't and you're going back to the sandwich board sign, that's the problem, it's the sandwich board sign itself.
It's just the form of the sign.
It's the form of the sign, that's all.
So yeah, then my final, to close my argument, really, I'm just looking for an exemption. That's it. I understand the law. I know, I know that it's in violation of the bylaw as written, but given the circumstance, I'm requesting an exemption.
I've got a question for,
Sure.
just specifically as far as signage goes. Have you talked to your property owner about potentially stenciling on the side of your building?
Stenciling on the side, well, I do have a sign above the storefront, the
Yeah.
windows. The problem is, I had to work with the building owner to keep it uniform.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to put a sign that really catches the eye. So I'm attempting to make up for that with the sandwich board sign.
Okay.
And I also have, on the windows too, have the name of the shop and everything.
One of the challenges he has, going eastbound, you can see it. Going westbound, you don't even know he's there. So,
Yeah, because I was thinking, you can see it going eastbound.
right.
Yeah.
Coming the other way is where he's challenged.
Yeah.
Absent any, open arrow. I want you to be successful. I think that's a neat spot. I think it'll be a real good success story for the town. I'm sitting here thinking, if I say what I'm going to say, I'm going to have poster board conversations in my future for the next 2 years. I don't know if I want that, but can we do a temporary extension for a small window? Hopefully get word out, drive traffic, and then come back in a few months and revisit a more permanent solution?
Oh, no. So, just to be clear, I'm not advocating one way or the other for it. All I was trying to do is just provide what the actual facts are, right? In the bylaws in which we got to go by. Because I sit on the zoning board and have for the last 10-plus years, we run across this periodically that you have these problems, and as uncomfortable and unpleasant they are, they come up. I don't know. I don't know if we, I have no idea. I can sympathize with the fact that it's a struggling business. I'm in business myself, and sometimes it's not easy, right? It's always a challenge. You're trying to make ends meet. But at some point, you have to, it becomes the cost of doing business, right? And if you need a small sign, then you need a small sign. And then you can get something that's nondescript and, well, something that's small that you can put there and actually do the same thing, right? Even if it said bookstore without an arrow, you would be like, where is it? Right? You'd be looking around for it. That's basically what you capture there. Looking at the sign when it comes down, I almost, the first couple times I seen it, I looked past the building thinking it was up the other end of the street. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to it, to be honest with you.
Really?
It just puts it in a tough position, because if you, the bylaw is put there for a reason for the sandwich board sign, and I would think that the purpose was just to attract foot traffic coming by for a daily special in front of your business, similar to what they do down at the Goodness Store. If you start allowing things like this, you cannot start not allowing it, right? You can, well, can I have it for a temporary, I'm just opening up, and I would like to put a sign down at the corner at the blinking light because I want to drive traffic up the road. It's a tough thing, so it's,
Just one note is that it's, maybe, I don't know, 20 feet in front of our business. It's not down the road, it's just right across the street from our door on the corner there. You can see it from our store.
And there's no
I get
sidewalk.
that. It was an extreme example that I was using.
In front of our store?
No, where the sandwich board,
So it's right on Main, there is a sidewalk, but the board is not on the sidewalk, it's on the town.
It's on the
So
opposite side of the street from his building.
yeah.
Yeah, it's on the grass.
So there is that sidewalk going up towards this building.
Yeah, the problem is he's trying to catch traffic coming down Main Street going westbound.
Yeah.
And so if he puts it on the sidewalk, even though he has enough room there, it's not going to make much sense for him. It's not going to drive the traffic that he's
Right.
trying to drive.
Yeah, in front of my store, it wouldn't make sense, but yes, there is a sidewalk there. The board's not on the sidewalk.
Any thoughts?
Would it be a different situation if you did get permission from the church? Would this go under a different, fall under something different?
Sandwich board, my interpretation, sandwich board signs are very business specific to their premises.
Legal counsel was asked a question and fell flat, and didn't answer the question. But I think the conversation has gone astray, Mr. Chairman. Section 9.3.1 of the bylaw is captioned, "Signs allowed by right." A sandwich sign is allowed by right if it is on the premise, it's used on a regular basis, and that such signs stand on legs do not exceed 4 feet in height. The next section is section 9.3.2, separately captioned, signs allowed by permit. So we've created two buckets, signs that are allowed by right, signs that are allowed by permit. Sounds allowed by permit definition is the definition of a sign, not any specific kind of sign. The bylaw defines sign. Any symbol, message, design, or device designed to be visible from the exterior and used to advertise, identify, or inform about any product, premises, person, or activity. That would include a sandwich sign. It would appear that your major navigation for a permit would be, it can't exceed the sizes on the table by zone. It has to be applied for, the permit has to be applied for of the building commissioner with the following contents. The approved application form, the application must be signed by the owner of the sign and the owner of the property where the sign is to be erected and submitted with appropriate plans. I'm not a lawyer, I did not stay at Holiday Inn Express last night, but it would seem to me that actually these are two different buckets, and if you want to have a sign on somebody else's property and you follow the dimensional requirements and you keep it out of the public right-of-way, completely out, can't be on the sidewalk, can't be on any public property that's associated with the sidewalk or the roadway, you can do it.
So he'd need to go down
So
and
you think
apply.
the sandwich board sign is permissible on an abutting property?
Well, because the drafting convention would be, if you caption something, what is allowed as of right, and then you're listing everything that is allowed as of right. And these are very specific authorizations. So what is being allowed as of right? So nobody, no permit, no select board action, nothing, is a sandwich board movable sign at the premise, used on a regular basis, and provided they do not exceed 4 feet in height and stand on legs.
So where he falls outside of that is it's not on his premise. So
So
then
then he would need a permit, which is contemplated by section 9.3.2, a separate section of the bylaw. seriously, I just came up with this sitting here paging through the bylaw for whatever, it has to be the 100th time at this point. But part of the problem here is this numbering system and this bylaw takes you all over the place, right? So there's no indentations indicating where the captions are. But these are clearly two different provisions of the same overall caption. 9.3 is requirements. 9.3.1 is allowed by right, 9.3.2 is by permit, and that is the end of 9.3 until you get to 9.3.3, which is those things that are prohibited. So no matter what anybody does, they can't get away with any of those items. So there is a logical progression in the bylaw, as of right, by permit, and prohibited.
So, based off of that, he falls outside of by right because it's not on his premise. So the next logical step for the business to do would be to take sandwich board sign, get landowner permission, and then go and apply for a permit, and see where that goes.
Well, since we're reading the bylaw, go one step further. Make your sandwich board sign less than 3 square feet, and it's not even applicable to the bylaw. It's exempt.
But see, now that exemption is in the by right portion of the bylaw.
Yeah.
Right, so it's basically saying if you go under 3 square feet, you're not going to make it because you have signs on both sides of the sandwich board. So your total surface area is going to be more like 8 feet.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it in front of their business, so.
Having said that, you need the permission of the landowner where you're going to put it, and you have to apply with the plan, if you agree with this interpretation. I'll leave it, kicking it back to you. It seems to me, sitting here, that people are looking for some kind of theory on this, and I did my best.
Well, the only disagreement I have is why did they call out all these different types of signs if you can just go to signs by right?
Because they're specifically, so you have two ends of the spectrum here. One is by right, it's allowed, nobody can tell you no. And prohibited. So no matter what anybody says, you
Yep.
can't do it. And in the middle, that which is allowed by permit. It would still come to you if the building commissioner were to deny it, but he would need a reason to deny it. Which would be if you exceed the maximum dimensional standards, but simply put it out there without a permit. So technically you are in violation now because you don't have a permit. But it's a different kind of problem to have than to.
I kind of agree with where you were going with it. Like, that's my interpretation. As you're not putting it on your property, you're going to need to go and get a permit and defer it back and see what.
Saying that this is what the bylaw says doesn't mean it's good policy. Doesn't mean I'm recommending that as a policy, because you can see where this would go to the wild, wild west, right? Everybody would have a sign for everybody else's business in the front of their yard. It is troublesome, but that wasn't contemplated by the drafter of this bylaw.
Well, a lot of things weren't contemplated, because, just deal with this for a minute. A menu sign can't be more than 2 square feet. But if you're under 3 square feet, it's exempt from this bylaw. I know you don't have a menu sign.
So it's basically a giant who's on first. That's where we're at with it.
So would the recommendation from the building commissioner should have been
Apply for a permit.
get a permit and
Well,
Well, it's
Well,
not an inappropriate violation, right? Because
I-
it's been in the right of way quite a
Right.
bit.
Yep.
No offense, but
Yep.
we all go by it all day. So if it's on the sidewalk, it is a problem because we have to keep the sidewalks available to everyone who may want to pass and repass. If they're in a wheelchair, if they have difficulty walking, if somebody wants to have a child on their side, they need to be able to pass over our sidewalks. So we can't have things in the way, right?
Yeah, but it's not on the sidewalk. That's what I just
Okay,
don't
so-
understand.
Maybe not by your design,
Yeah.
but
Right.
sometimes it does end up on the, like today it was.
No, it wasn't. It was on the town common. It's on the grass. It's not on the sidewalk.
Okay.
I have like a photo I can show you.
Yep, no, that's fine. So,
Dueling photos, it does seem to drift. It has been there because I've made specific note of it.
Sure.
I don't think it's your intent to put it on the sidewalk. I really don't think so.
It doesn't.
But it doesn't mean that you're the only person who touches it all day. It's in the public. But in all honesty, that's really your only, if the board agrees with my interpretation, that's your only parameter, that's your only constraint, is it can't drift out into space that the public would use to go walks into. As long as you're out of that area, and the church says you can, I can't see how the building commissioner would deny it, because he would need a basis for it. Because you're not going to do any of these things that are prohibited. I don't even want to read this.
so if you,
Not rated
yeah, but don't even go by that, go by his violation. So his violation is citing, no sign shall be placed on town property or within the right-of-way of the town without prior approval of the Board of Selectmen. So if it's on the church property, forget about the label of the town common, because I don't believe it's the town commons. If it's on the church property, then you need to get a permit, right? Based on the conversation we just had.
Yeah.
As far as his, if it was, I've seen it outside the granite blocks. The town administrator just said that he's seen them outside the granite blocks. So we're going to make the assumption that it was in, just hear me out, make the assumption that it was in the right-of-way, right?
Yeah.
So his violation notice is correct, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the end of the line. So your next step is, you can't put it in the road, right?
No.
So your next step, if the rest of the board agrees to this, is you go see the building, you don't put it in the road anymore, and you go see it, you don't put it up, you go see the building inspector, you apply for a sign permit, and then this becomes his problem to try to navigate through this sign bylaw. But and he'll end up talking to the town administrator, I'm sure, at some point about this. It's conflicting, trying to read through this, right? And I still stand by my thought of the sandwich board sign. I have a little trouble when something is specifically called out in a bylaw, there's a reason for that, right? They said sandwich board signs, menu signs, small signs, all these other things, and they all have meaning to them, right? I don't agree, and no disrespect, but I don't agree that you jump past that and just say, all right, so this section works for me, so we're going to use that instead. I don't buy that. I still stand by the sandwich board sign. But if the building inspector turns around and he gives you a permit, we're not the sign police. I'm not going to be chasing you around saying, no, he's wrong. Building inspector falls under his direction, not under ours. So if he agrees and gives you a permit, you're good to go. The way I understand it, this violation was correct because of what I seen, right? I know what I seen, and it hasn't changed. I, myself, and I'm not trying to influence the board, I wouldn't go against this violation notice because I think it was in the right-of-way, right? The town common thing, I don't know where that came from because it's not the town common. So your course of action, after we get through all this stuff, is go down to the building department and apply for a sign permit.
Well, the first thing is to get permission from the church, actual written permission.
Well, the building official's going to tell him what he needs, right?
Be in the application.
Yeah.
He's going to have to do all that. I don't think it falls under our purview to tell him what he needs to do. That's the building commissioner's job to tell him what he needs to do. The only thing we had in here was to hear the appeal of the sign bylaw, because that's where, the sign violation, because that's where it comes to.
Okay.
So I agree with the violation myself, but it's not the end of the road for you. You still have an avenue. You go down the hall, you apply for your permit, and if he gives you one, he gives you one. If you come to zoning, I'm still going to have the same opinion about the sandwich bylaw, because the sandwich board bylaw, just how I read it. That's all.
Is there any action that we need to take this evening, Matt? Do we need to vote on this or anything?
Well, I think we have
Well,
possible
To
votes.
get back to, I mean, it's not to split hairs, but the violation, what error did the building commissioner make?
I don't believe he made
So,
any.
right, so the sign doesn't have a permit. So even if you follow my analysis and agree with it, you say, well, it needs a permit. It doesn't have one. So it's a violation. So upholding the building commissioner's violation notice is a perfectly fine thing to do. A necessary thing to do, unless he wants to withdraw his appeal. Just take the sign down and not use it until you go through the permit process.
So has that been up since we met last? And that was because we continued it?
Because we didn't give him direction to take it down.
Yeah.
And I thought about afterwards, what I should have done was instruct them to take it down until it was satisfied. But didn't say that, so we just let it ride because the meeting was only very short distance.
So what's the step we take to allow things to continue as is up until the point the building inspector issues a ruling?
I don't think we have that right to do it.
Yeah, really, he's the enforcement official, so unless you find some error in his interpretation of the facts or his interpretation of the law, you really don't have the basis to overturn his decision. Selectman Fitzpatrick went through it. Really factually, it meets the definition of a violation. Because it has neither a permit, so it's actually moot. No matter where it is, whether it's in the public right-of-way or on the church, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have a permit to be on the church lawn, so it's still a violation. He wasn't cited for that, but still, there is no basis for it to be up.
I mean, it should be a relatively short process for him. There's not a lot of heavy reading to try to figure out whether or not the sign, if you're using the actual sign that's there, and if he allows it, then he allows it.
Yeah, but all the while, we're closer and closer to December 25th, right? This is kind of cognizant of that in the season that we're in. Yeah.
I mean, understanding
It
that.
might be the case, but I don't think we have the ability to grant people permission to do something that's in violation of the bylaws.
Well, to your point, it's not actually about the bylaw, it's about the violation. And based off of the layout,
Well, it
he's
is
in
a violation.
violation.
What Tim is suggesting is that we allow him to keep his sign, and the bylaw clearly states that it needs to be a permit, right? Unless it's under 3 square feet.
Yeah.
Or unless it's a menu sign, then it's under 2 square feet. Or if it's a neon sign, then you can only have it on a half hour before you open and a half hour after you close. I've read too much of this shit.
Yeah, I
This stuff. But sorry.
Might be the first, that's not the first, but it's
We on the delay for the Fitzpatrick delay here?
for the kids.
All right, thank you.
So anyways, I think you have a cause of action. I think the building inspector would work with you. I think he's not going to drag his feet and try to hold you up and forever on your sign. It's a pretty simple process, and if it's allowed, it's allowed. He's going to give you a permit. And I'm not guaranteeing this permit, I'm just saying, if it's allowed, it's allowed, right? So,
The only other option, and this probably is where we create the precedent, is if we were to support his sign appeal today.
that still doesn't eliminate him from getting a permit.
No, but.
All we
buy
did-
Some time, like keep things up for a couple weeks.
I guess.
Well, it says here,
You can make any kind of motion you want.
under the memo, is the sign appeal is an appeal taken to the Board of Selectmen under section 9.3.2.1 to exceed the sign dimensions, size limits found in 9.3. There's no waiver listed in definitions, so it seems like Rich did weigh in on that part of it. The only actionable items that we have is, what Matt had laid out. We either support the violation or we don't, one way or the other. I mean, it seems like a clear path of go down, get your permit,
Yep.
and call it done, right?
Right, we're not here to allow the sign or not allow the sign, right? It's not a petition to put it on public property.
And it really, we went through this a while ago with dog orphans. It doesn't take long to go and get the permit. It took them a day. We went down, met with Ken, came up to an agreement, done.
different case, because in that situation, I think they're in the public right of way.
They were in the,
So
yeah.
you had,
They were
the
within-
authority, the building commissioner really didn't have any say-so over that.
They were within 10 feet of the public right away. It's a different process. Because they had to come here, because they were within the 10 feet of the public right away.
Yeah, I mean, where it's private property, to me, I think it's a simple fix, get the permit and call it done.
Well, and that's his course of action. The only action that I see that we have here tonight is to either support or not support the violation notice given by the building official. So if you agree with the facts, then you would support his violation notice, and if you don't agree, then you wouldn't support his violation notice, but it's still not going to eliminate the fact that you need a building permit in order to put up a sign. No matter how you cut it, that's what you need. And to give him Tim, to give him permission to do that, or temporary or whatever, yeah, I would think that it would become a public hearing, and you'd have to notify your abutters, right? Because, I don't know.
That might be a decision of the building inspector, too, if he wanted to grant them temporary,
Yeah, I don't know.
Sign.
I don't know what his
Right.
leverage is on any of that.
We just have
So,
to say yea and nay on the
Yep.
violation.
yeah.
So there is direction to go. That can be done probably relatively quick, So,
Does anybody want to make some form of a motion regarding the violation?
I'm just thinking through it, because you always do everything in a positive manner, so, but a positive manner is a negative for the applicant. So anyways, I want to make a motion to uphold the violation notice decision by the building official. For the sandwich board sign for Shudo's books, I remembered. I had to remember how I wrote it down on the paper. Dated October 11th, 2023.
I'll second.
Okay. You don't need to throw paper around, right?
Yeah, I'd like to throw all this away, actually.
All right, so the motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing as none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? All right,
I
So,
think you have a cost of value. I know it's not what you wanted the outcome to be, but We-
So just to clarify, I can't keep the sign out until I get the permit.
yeah, I would go
Correct.
see the building inspector first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And As Selectman Bonin suggested, maybe he could give you or maybe it was Selectman Moss, Chairman Moss, you get a temporary sign. I don't know. You'd have to check with him. I don't know what his control is on that. So,
all right.
all right, thank you.
thanks.
All right, so the next agenda item is the financial policy first reading.
They probably wish they were first.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Cheryl Vadia, Treasurer Collector, and I have with me this evening Brian Jamros of Bartholomew and Company. He is a financial advisor, and we're present tonight for the first reading of the general fund and long-term investment policy statement. We currently invest our funds in accordance with this policy, and it is a standard policy used by all municipalities in the Commonwealth.
Okay.
That makes it easy, Cheryl.
Yeah. It basically outlines the investment instruments allowed under Mass General Law, which a treasurer may use for the investment of municipal funds. And Brian is here to provide a brief explanation on the investment policy and answer any questions that you might have.
Excellent. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. The good news is I was at a town meeting last night, but that was Elliott, Maine. I live in Sutton, so tonight I'm in Douglas, and much easier commute, so thank you. I'll still be home earlier than last
No
night.
snow, right?
No snow. So if you could, I'll give you a little bit of intro of who I am. I work with Bartholomew and Company. We're an investment firm located centrally out of Worcester, Massachusetts. We work with, as of November 30th, we work with over 328 municipal entities, primarily in Massachusetts. We happen to have 3 main clients, primarily because they used to work with us in Mass and moved up to Maine to retire. We deal with 1 in Rhode Island and 1 in New Hampshire. However, as you can see, out of the 328 minus that, we still deal with well over 300 in the state of Massachusetts. We have 2 former municipal treasurer collectors on staff. They've been with us, well, 1 has been with us for 23 years. Reason why I believe we're the dominant player in this space of municipal finance is due to the fact that they've married the municipal experience with the investment world and understanding all the Mass General laws accordingly. I've been in this municipal space, municipal banker for 15 years, for the first 15 years, and I've been in as an advisor for the last 8, so I've been in the municipal space for 23 years and working specifically with treasurer collectors in Massachusetts. What I have here is outlined a very simple 1-page, if you will. I'll kind of quickly go over that. I'll stop for any questions, but then everything is outlined in the legal process here, very standard across the Commonwealth. But let's just go over the 3 buckets of monies, this 1-page handout. Just explain it. General fund, so there's 3 buckets of monies that are really of any town. There's general funds, opera funds, as of recent, bond proceeds, payroll, payables, and operating funds. Under the Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 55, they have to stay, you cannot invest in credit unions, or you can't put your deposits in credit unions, I should say. Those are for your general funds, basically, or all those funds under the bucket. You can't invest in credit unions. You can't invest in banks outside of state unless it's within a primary bank within the state, and then you have a CEDARS program, or the new term was
Intrafi.
Intrafi is the new CEDARS program, which allows you to deposit your monies within a Massachusetts-based bank, and then to maintain the FDIC insurance, they automatically sweep the funds across the country in increments of under $250,000 and under, okay? That is allowed by statute. Within that, bless you, under the Mass General Law, Chapter 4455, that bucket of money, you can invest in CDs up to 3 years, treasuries and agencies up to a year, money markets, and that's it. You can't get fancier. You can't go a year, 2 months for a treasury. You have to follow those laws outlined by the Massachusetts MGO. Second bucket of monies, which is which falls under the as of today, the trust funds, cemetery perpetual care, stabilization funds, community preservation funds, scholarship funds, depreciation funds. Those are really for light plants or light departments, and then library funds. Those fall under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 54, and then those further credit to Chapter 167A, which is the legal list of investments. Legal list of investments is you can invest those funds in no more than 22 companies. They're the big blue chip companies that have been around for a while. The state of Massachusetts, the banking division prints that every July 1st and gives us the new who you can invest in that list. Now, bear in mind, it hasn't changed in 30 years. The only thing it's done has been, they're taking off slowly off that list. And then the third bucket of monies, which is not in question tonight, but just Mass General Law, Chapter 203C is OPEB, or funds under special legislation. Now, all your funds are in bucket number 1 and bucket number, well, actually, you have all 3 funds listed here, but the investment policy statement in front of you is only bucket number 1 and bucket number 2. Bucket number 3 is in its own separate trust fund, which your town has voted that the treasurer would be the trustee and custodian, so they don't need your approval for that, okay? But my understanding is your bylaw states that any policies are presented in front of the Board of Selectmen for approval. right? So I think that's why we're here today, to approve that. Now, if you go through this draft policy, that you have here, it pretty much outlines in detail all the laws that I just dictated, or not dictated, but said. And there's some other things in there that reference Veribank. Your town treasurer is following Veribank reporting. That's a company that's overseeing or looking at financials of banks throughout the country and making sure they're solid. They rate it on like a traffic light. Green means good, means go, they're good. Yellow means caution, check in with the bank. And red means stop what you're doing and move the money, okay? It's, they're an independent firm out of Rhode Island. It's called VERIBANC, excuse me, and it's within the draft policy there. Your treasurer is following that to a T. Your treasurer is a Massachusetts certified treasurer collector. Been for that for a while. She's been in the business since 2005, and she's following these to the letter of the law. We happen to have a niche in the municipal space, so we're following this policy as is, like every other 288 legal list portfolios that we cover, okay? There is some, I'll stop there. Any questions?
Yeah.
Okay. This outline, as you can look through and read the draft, is going to say all of that. I gave the high level view.
These policies tend to help with our bond ratings. The rating agencies are very policy-driven, so the more policies we have in place, the more favorable they look.
Yeah, we're following this to a T because we have we still have two former still certified municipal employees. We monitor this closely for you. We work for you, we work for the town, and we manage it accordingly. We don't mess around with that. We just get it right off, get it right off the list if it's not on there, so.
Anybody have any questions?
Seems pretty.
Just a question of curiosity, the Veribank, how many or how often do you see banks in the green turn yellow or turn red, and has that increased in the past month?
So I'm an investment advisor. I'm no longer in the bank anymore. So I don't track the Veribank. However, we do work with cities and towns for helping them understand the investment policies and crafting them for the municipalities. So I can't answer that question for you. I don't monitor that closely. As an investment firm, when we take in money for you, we break it up automatically and we invest it. We can invest in, if we take $1 million deposit in for you right now, we would spread that out to 4 different banks across the country, and we're not even worried about that.
I've seen more yellow recently, but sometimes it's just a reporting issue where they didn't have a report in on time, and then it gets switched right away. There were some banks that were closed, and that those obviously were red. There was like 2, I think.
All the banks throughout the country.
Yeah.
In New England specific, or the banks that Cheryl works for, I don't believe there are any that are on. Now, I used to work for Unibank. When I was at Unibank at the time, that's my 15 years of municipal experience, they had hit a yellow status one time. It had nothing to do with any worries financially, very strong, sound bank. It had to do with the CFO at the time charged off a portion of the company, took a loss. That loss triggered a yellow signal on Veribank, and that in itself is not a problem. 1/4 of yellow is not a problem. The 2 times of a quarter is something to be alarmed of. The first time yellow, we just had a presentation at one of our association meetings at the MCTA in November, and Veribank, the representative for Veribank was there talking about all this. But it says in the policy, if you bet in, and that's on page, let's see, there's no real pages here. 1, 2, 3. Actually, it's the very last page, opposite of the signature of the treasurer. So right before the second to last page, if you will. And it's third paragraph in, it says, when using Veribank rating services, the treasurer may invest in such banks that show a green rating and a quarter. If a rating is yellow, the treasurer should contact the appropriate banking institution and request in writing an explanation of the change in rating and the expectation timetable for it to be changed to green. If for a second quarter such rating is not green, the treasurer should consider removing all funds that are not collateralized or carry some form of deposit insurance. If rating moves to red, all money should be immediately collateralized or covered by some form of depositors' insurance or be removed from the banking institution. So they can also collateralize the fund. These are, we were talking about collateralized, non-collateralized. Unless you ask a bank to collateralize your funds, they're not collateralized in that. So just because going back to that Unibank experience, when I was with them, there was no problem with the bank, very strong institution, but they had that charge off of a company they purchased, and they had to write it off the books to move on. They were still, very profitable that year. It triggered the yellow status. And as Cheryl mentioned, some banks get on there because they missed the reporting deadline. Now, you don't want to have that happen quarter after quarter. That looks bad as part of management. So, does that help?
Yeah.
Answer a little bit?
This is interesting.
Two questions for the treasurer. So we use the Veribank rating service,
We do.
and you monitor it?
I do.
Okay, thanks.
Good question.
Well, you talked all around it, so I wanted to make sure that we're actually using it, so I read the last page there.
Yes.
No, we do. And we do have a bank that we have funds in that uses IntraFi too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're going to have 3 readings of this and then becomes policy?
All right.
Now,
Okay.
what happened to the other one? The one that sparked my imagination, the OPEB funding policy.
Sure, so the OPEB funding policy, in my understanding, the town has voted the treasurer as the trustee and custodian. The treasurer would be responsible for signing the OPEB policy. Technically, it's a trust, so they're not actually the town's monies anymore. They're for the benefit of the town employees, and yes, they're the town's monies, but you can't spend them for anything else. But other post-employment benefits for retirees. But creating that trust separates it from the town, has a dotted line from the town to that account. But right now, under your adoption, like 99% of the communities around or in the state have voted the treasurer as the trustee and custodian.
But I thought the policy we discussed was the one that specifically earmarked future pension funds that.
I'm sorry, Matt. A funding
Funding
policy.
policy.
I apologize.
Yeah, that is the.
Okay, yeah, that's different. That is not, sure. So that's a funding policy, something that we've talked about in the past in my town of Sutton. We've adopted a funding policy. Is that what you want to speak of? Trying to help with this unfunded liability is it make-believe? Is it not? Is it 67 million? Is it 26 million one year, right? It's crazy. I don't know what your story is. I'm just telling you mine.
And I'm just listening to yours.
Sure. So you can listen. We deal with over 200 municipal entities that have OPEB with us, so we deal with OPEB quite a bit. One of the actuaries, Parker from Odyssey, had given us a suggestion to share with whether it's a client of his, a mutual client of ours and his, or not. Share it, give it away. Create a funding policy, and in the funding policy, when your pension liabilities are fully funded, take that portion and apply it towards your OPEB unfunded liability. And that will help move your unfunded liability today. Now, your funding, you won't be funded your pension liability until, say, 2035, and that's a moving number. I don't know what the new number is, right? That used to be 2025. Now it's moved up to over the years, it's moved up to 2035. But let me stick to this point. If you can adopt a funding policy in your town, it will help, that says this. Once our pension liabilities are fully funded, we will take those funds for the unfunded portion, because now it's funded, and we'll apply it to the OPEB. It will help reduce your unfunded liability today, because remember, actuaries are mathematicians and they're running out numbers over 50 to 100 years. Well, it's taking, in 2035, when pension is fully funded, it's taking that number, however many millions, how many million it is, and they're applying it to your OPEB, and they're doing the calculation. Our unfunded liability, and please don't quote me on the exact number on this, because I work with over 200 municipal entities, and I was involved with Sutton's over 2 years ago now, so I don't remember the intimate details. But the unfunded liability dropped significantly from 60+ million down to under 30 million.
Just by making the commitment that in the future we would do that.
So that's what really moved the needle. And it helps you with your bond rating today, which is nice. In the funding policy, it also had, we'll take a portion of our operating budget and apply it towards, to the OPEB liability. We'll take a portion of the free cash. I mean, what portion that is, that's up to your town. But really what moved the needle was, once our pension liabilities are fully funded, we're going to take that and apply it to the OPEB unfunded liability. And that really seemed to move the needle. I was dealing with one regional school district out of our almost 200 clients, and they weren't going to be funded until, this is hard for me to say, 2104, right? And then they applied that policy, and they brought it down to 2054. More realistic, right? I mean, it's a regional school, big unfunded liability, excuse me, so.
But we're looking to bond, the two funding mechanisms we can use. This would be one. I'll say the same thing differently. Basically, the policy would direct the town administrator when formulating the annual budget. Once the pension fund liability is fully funded, take those funds that would have been put in that line item and move them to OPEB. In that, so there'd be operating budget funds that would have gone to the pension, but now the pension's funded, so now we're just going to take it and whack away at OPEB. The other policy piece that we need is when money comes back from the claims trust fund on the health insurance side, you should be allocating funds from those returns. Some of them should go to OPEB. Because what the bond rating agencies are looking for is strength on your balance sheet. To prove that you are not a very significant credit risk, you would want a strong balance sheet. So taking, when GASB said you have to put your unfunded OPEB liability onto your balance sheet, it made us all weaker. Technically weaker. And there's no fighting it, that they came up with that rule. But I'm in the school of town managers that think it's foolish. We're never going out of business. It's a municipal entity has the ability to raise funds, and so therefore we would never go out of business. We would always meet our contractual obligations. But notwithstanding that, that's not what the rule is. The rule is you have to put it on your balance sheet, and if it's not funded, it sits there as a negative. So the more you do to take steps to address that, the concept is at some future date you will have a lot more flexibility in your financial strength to meet all of your obligations, including debt, would be that much stronger. So we got to get going cracking on these things, because if we want to issue any kind of bond to do a building project, we want to try to borrow at the most advantageous rate for our taxpayers. Should be improving our tax, our bond rate. So if that exists in some sort of draft format, I'd like to get it in front of this board.
So
February timeframe.
I can ask, so I'm in my town, and I can ask.
Yeah, and I told both Matt and Brian that the conference I attended in November, also our auditor was speaking to that. They did forward me the town of Sharon's policy, and we're going to compare it to yours, yeah.
Do you want me to see if I can get the town of Sutton's policy?
Yeah.
I can
Jim?
get it from Lisa or Jim.
Lisa, okay. So, Cheryl will get the policy.
Cheryl's right, great weight is given to policies. Like going through the scorecard for the bond rating. The town did a lot of this, but a lot of the policies need to be updated. Because when they were written, you were in financial distress, and it was in the 20 teens and before that. I think times have changed.
And just for clarity, this is the latest and greatest MGL. If you want to, you can always loosen the standards. You can't go above the standards. If you want to put Amazon and Google on here, you just can't do it. You'll be out of bounds, okay? I'm not saying any, what's that?
No Bitcoin.
No Bitcoin. So, damn it. Sorry.
$2,000. Just the other day.
So hopefully that helps. It's very standard across the state, though. And Massachusetts general laws dictates it.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
Well, thank you. Nice to meet
very much.
everybody.
Thank you
Nice
for
to
the
see
information.
Have a good night.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Number 3 is the Chapter 61 policy, third reading and possible votes. Any changes in the,
So, Mr. Chairman, I think there are changes. They were called out in red, correct?
Yes.
Underlined red text.
Page 2 and page 3.
Now, I think there was some additional feedback that we wanted the land use office, before it takes in submittals for A&Rs or subdivision or anything, to be able to compare the properties on those submittals to a list of 61, 61A, and 61B properties maintained by the assessor. So in this intervening time, we have created that list. We have the list in place. I don't think the language has been fully updated to reflect that. Now, having said that, it's your policy, so you can amend it at any time. So, in the interest of efficiency, this being the third reading, if you approve the policy tonight, it's not set in stone. It can be updated as we improve the language. I'm not even sure, would Rich say that we have to read the amendment 3 times, or whether you can just amend it? I
Well,
would think you should
this
be
was
able to-
amended from the last time, right? So,
we've amended policy in place before without 3 readings.
So your course of action, you can either pass over it tonight so we can catch up and just finish that language, or pass it tonight, and you have the policy in place. We know internally we want people to check against that list, and then we'll memorialize that in this policy and just. stop
would it be
as
much of a
possible.
hassle to add that wording in here, just so it's captured? Because it's in front of us now, we're more apt to get it done, that if we approve it tonight and then with the anticipation of amending it later on, it may slip through the cracks a little bit. So would 2 weeks make much difference to have that wording added to it, and then we just do the final approval on the 19th? Because I think that was the only concern that we had, is to make sure that there was a fail-safe in there, and the land use department is the one that's probably the only one that it would fall through the cracks on, whether it was a permanent A&R lots or something like that. So I think we add that language in there to make sure that there's a current list always in community development.
So we'll take the third reading in the next meeting?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how we want to, it's not just the current list, but to make sure that the,
You want to process?
part of their process would be to compare applications to that list. It's a short list, so it's not like it's going to be a tedious thing for them to do. They just comes in and it's 29 Depot Street. Yep, they're not on the list. Okay, we're good to go. It is on the list and it flags it.
4 pages.
Yep.
So Matt, we can have the accompanying process that follows it embedded into the policy for the next meeting?
Yes.
I think that's the only thing that we have left, Matt, to put in there. That way it's clean, we're done with it, and we don't have to try to remember to chase it down.
Anybody have any issues with passing this over and then giving them the opportunity to put the process into the policy? No. Okay.
Makes perfect sense.
Follow-up discussion on moratorium for road paving, road opening, and possible votes. We're going to pass it?
Yeah, pass over.
Love that. Okay. So we are on to license renewals and possible votes. And in our packets, we have Capital Cannabis for retail marijuana, Douglas Village Package Store for alcohol, Sokol Club for alcohol, Common Vic, yearly entertainment and pool table, the Easy Mart for alcohol, Family Convenience, alcohol and Common Vic, Douglas Orchard and Farm LLC for yearly entertainment, Douglas Auto Sales Inc. for a Class 2, and Douglas Donuts, DBA Dunkin' Donuts for a Common Vic. And I assume we have everything we needed for all of these licenses in our packet,
Correct.
with no objections from any public safety, Board of Health, anybody issues like that.
No issues.
We have Teresa here from Capital Cannabis.
Yeah, because I have a question to ask you.
All right.
With my renewal, we want to keep everything the same, of course, 7 days, 8 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. But what I am bringing to you tonight is I'm looking to do a drive-through, drive-in. We call it a drive-through, but it's actually going to be a drive-in, where it's going to be an enclosed, like a garage, added onto the back. I don't know if you remember in the beginning when we first started this project, we did have a drive-through on the plans, but we ended up taking them off because we wanted to get open faster. It looked like it was going to take much longer than the 6 months that it did take to get through. So that's why we took the drive-through off. But we always said that we were going to come back and revisit it. So I already have an engineer in place that already drew all the plans up. I did have a preliminary meeting with the town, with Ken, to look over it to see how it's going forward, if everything's in place as it is. But in order for the planning to look at it, I have to ask you permission for it, so that way you open it up so I can take it to planning.
And pardon me, I don't follow all of them. Did we get a weigh-in from the Cannabis Commission on drive-through or drive-in? Is that something that they're licensing at this point in time, or is it still prohibited?
I'm sorry, they won't, I actually had a discussion with my investigator about it, and he said that they won't even look at it until the town sees it and approves it. If the town sees it and approves it, then it will be put before them, and then they will make their decision.
There must be, because my car wash turned into a pot shop.
Oh, you got Oxbridge?
Yeah, yeah. It's been in the works for a while.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Car doesn't get too clean, but I don't even notice it's dirty anymore.
But this year I had a pop inspection in my store, and I have to be quite proud of that, because they said that I was the most organized dispensary they ever saw. So that's pretty good. But with that being said, I asked them about it. I asked them about the drive-through, and I also asked them about 2 other things that I plan to do in the store moving forward. And one of them is all ready to go. I can do it under my own license. One of them is something that's going to be for next year. But for this year, it was explained to me that I have to get your support before I can even bring it to them.
So this was a garage door shuts,
Yes.
you conduct the transaction and then...
Fishbowl it and leave.
And then you go out the other way. So it's going to be cameras inside. Of course, it's going to be, the drainage underneath, but the door goes up, they go in, door goes down, cameras on. In fact, the building was actually built, as we said, we built it originally for a drive-through. So the building, the back side of the building, there's 3 rooms. There's the man trap, there's a hallway, there's an office, and then there's the huge electrical room. That office right there was always left because it's ready to open up that wall, the back wall, to go into the drive-through, which would have been the drive-through. There was actually a garage that was built there to do that. So we're just going to be adding that garage back on. That was on the original plans. So this is just asking you if you would go forward with supporting this so that we can get to planning board so they can.
Because that's all we could do, is we could support it. That would be it, because she's going to have to, not only planning board, you have to go to conservation because of that stream that's in the back here.
Well, the conservation, in the original conservation, I already won 25 feet off of that intermittent river, pond, or not, stream. That was a man-made stream for the cows on that property, which is kind of crazy about that property. You do know it's Maycomber's field that was shut down because of cannabis, and now we sell cannabis out there. It's kind of crazy. But that,
Behind everything.
yeah. So eventually, we're going to hang a plaque to that. But there's that intermittent, but that was man-made. So when I went to conservation, I did win 25 feet off of that. Right now, I'm 50 feet off of that because we took the drive-through off. So, but the only thing that we're looking at right now is there's plenty, our parking lot was, bylaws was only supposed to be 18 parking spaces. We got up to like 70 parking spaces on there. We did the whole turning radius with the fire trucks. So what we're looking at right now is we don't need to open that up anymore. We just need to show that we have enough room we would have to open the egress, so now the first egress, so that it would be an in and out instead of just an in and around the building and out. That, the other side would definitely be because of the drive-through and out, but the first would have to be opened. Plenty of time, plenty of pet stacking to go around, which we've got like 45 spaces on that site. It's huge. Yeah, and everything so far with the engineer, has it planned out? It was always supposed to be there anyways. We're just looking at fire truck turning radius. That's all.
I still think that all we're doing is we're supporting the concept or not supporting the
Right,
concept. All this other stuff that you talked about is planning board approval.
Yep.
Right,
They
that's what
do
we
all
need
the
to sort of
drive-through
figure out.
and parking and all that
Yeah.
other stuff. The conservation, that's in theirs, right? Because I'm sure that you got a certificate of compliance with your previous application for conservation.
Oh, yeah, I went through
I
conservation.
know that,
Yeah.
so that's closed,
Yeah.
that was my
Yeah.
point. So you're going to have a new application, I would think, to go through that. I don't know.
If that's where I have to
That's
go,
not
I
us.
don't know.
That's not
We'll
us. All
find-
we're
yeah,
here
we'll find that
is
out, yeah.
if there's any opposition in supporting this, so.
Anybody care to make a motion on it?
I'd make a motion that we endorse and push forward Teresa's drive-through, drive-in proposal.
Second?
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I'm just curious, what do you mean by push forward?
Well, push forward to the various.
Just endorse it and give them an endorsement of support?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification.
I just wanted to make sure, when you say push forward, what's that mean? So that's all.
Yeah, I can reword if need be, but.
No, don't need to, I just needed clarification so I knew what I was voting on.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful night.
Thank
You too.
I'll be seeing you soon in the building. Thank you.
Take care.
We still need to approve.
Still need to do her license, though.
I have
All of
Yeah,
this
but
on here.
Yeah.
did we just do something wrong?
No,
No?
she did. She shouldn't have left.
No, not that. No, it's not on our agenda to discuss this drive-through and letter of support. Did we just do something wrong?
Loosely attached to her license.
No, not loosely attached. This is a license renewal. This isn't for a letter of support with the drive-through. It kind of rolled into that.
Would that fall under the not previous 48 hours?
I don't have a problem with supporting it. I'm just
Right.
asking if we did something wrong, that's all.
Loosely gray area.
You took an actual vote. I don't know if it's gray or not. It's not on the agenda and you took a vote on it.
We can reaffirm in the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just post it and vote again.
All right, just to keep it cleaner, that's all.
Nope.
Not
Makes
trying to make
sense.
that
Makes sense.
issue-
Yeah.
an
No,
issue out
that's a
of it.
good observation.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can't really do the 48-hour
No,
argument
Yep.
because
Yep.
the town's been aware of her desire to have this
I
drive-through.
don't anticipate the vote changing at all, but just to keep it clean,
Yeah.
I'd prefer to.
Well, you may have a butter or someone in town who wants to speak
Yep.
on it. They wouldn't have had the chance.
All right, so just throw it on the next agenda.
Will do.
All right, seeing that everything is,
Also, let her know that we
Yeah,
said
I'll let
before,
it,
Melanie.
yeah, contact.
seeing that everything is in order, I'd like to make a motion to approve all the listed license renewals as Capital Cannabis, Douglas Village Package Store, Sokol Club, Easy Mart, Family Convenience, Douglas Orchards, Douglas Auto Sales, and Douglas Donuts, DBA Dunkin' Donuts.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing as none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have meeting minutes and possible votes.
Real quick, Mr. Chairman, on number 5, are there others that haven't?
You will see them next week.
All right.
They're on here as I'm coming in, so I have
Yeah.
another
No, I know.
batch.
I don't mind the one meeting extension. It's beyond that where it becomes, you have a certain amount of hours in a day.
Girl is
Chasing
killing me.
Other licensees out, into January.
She'll capture
That's
every
not
single
gonna
word.
Not gonna happen.
They'll all be on the next meeting, what's left.
All right. So we have the meeting minutes and possible votes. Hit the restroom real quick. I'll be right back.
You want us to point out spelling mistakes, right?
If you wish.
I found one. So if you go onto the,
This isn't a competition, so,
well, I just,
no, again, I'm just teasing you.
under October 3rd, number 9, all the way at the bottom, it says, Mr. Fitzpatrick thinks that this should have gone through the typical process through planning board, but there's an E instead
Oh,
of
I
a space.
see it, okay. Nice catch.
Could have been the way I pronounced it.
Possible that too.
Sure we.
That's just English.
Must be.
We can do the minutes if you want, Tim.
Yeah, having watched the 1 minute of all, having taken part and watched the one meeting I did miss, I make a motion that we approve the October 3rd, the 17th, November 6th, November 14th, and 21st open session meetings minutes.
I will second that.
Is spell checker good with that?
I think I found everything.
Okay. all right.
Okay. So motion was made by Tim, seconded by Ross. Is there any further discussion on the meeting minutes? Seeing as none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
So this is just on here for the evaluation, because two of you guys were
Absent.
missing. So it's just to start the process, even though we did the town administrator's contract. This fiscal year, he's still, as per the contract, we start the process for the evaluation at this time of the year. Try to wrap it up before budget time, which hopefully is around the first of the year. I think Lisa sent out some information to everybody, asking if they could get any feedback back to her.
I think think I said
By the 19th, I think it was?
December 14th.
December 14th?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for the,
So you have time.
so,
Yeah.
Okay.
obviously, if we need additional time, we'll have additional time, but the goal is to try to move through this thing efficiently.
Agreed. And does everybody understand the process, the scoring system? Everybody feels comfortable with it?
Yeah, what I had suggested to them was to, they could stop in and see Lisa. If they have any questions, obviously, they can reach out to one of the fellow selectmen, not multiple ones. There are, Lisa does have copies of the previous evaluations we did, so if they need to understand the scoring, I think she could explain it to them.
And we have this in soft copy, right, Lisa?
Yes.
All right.
Soft copy.
Yeah, electronically, so you
email.
can, there you go.
Is that a thing?
I've heard it.
You have? All right. gonna use it.
Electronic copy.
You can. All right, so there's really no action for us unless everybody understands the process. We have what we need. Excellent. Mr. Administrator, this brings us to your report.
So we are much further along in the budget process at this point than we typically are. Because as we have entered into collective bargaining with both the firefighters union and the police officers union, it was necessary to arrive at an estimate of funds available to negotiate contractual changes, cost of living adjustments, salary table adjustments, and other things with those two unions, and do so in good faith. So I've already conducted an exercise, and we'll go through that exercise with the Finance Committee at our next meeting, and I think we are going to meet in December for a preliminary discussion of the budget. And once those back-of-the-envelope, if you will, calculations are made and they guide our actions, the budget's largely going to be locked up and decided way in advance of when it typically is. Having said that, the standing concern will still be there that we hear at the last minute from Maya up with our property and casualty premium. And we typically to wait at least until March to get the health insurance renewal rate. I've got a lot more confidence this year in a number of things. First of all, the surplus that we have in our trust fund is so large that unless there's a significant change in our claims trajectory as we sit here tonight, it's likely our renewal will be very low. So, and that anything that we needed, we could cover from the trust fund surplus, and it wouldn't come out of operating. As for P&C, I think this was the year we're in right now is the year we took the really big hit from Maya for past claims, including the oil spill. And the further we get away from those events, the less weight those claims have in setting our premiums for the next year. So, knock on wood, barring any additional claims this policy year, I would expect us to have an appropriate estimate in the budget. I think I have it at a 6% increase year over year. What's a little bit above or a little bit below that won't matter too much. So it's not budgeted at a zero, it's budgeted at a pretty aggressive number, because we still know that we have large claims in our immediate history. The trouble with Maya is they typically never tell us what our premium is going to be until really late in the process. I think last year was like March 27th. So I'm going to proceed this year with my existing estimate and think that that's where we need to be. So we are 2 or 3 meetings down with each of those unions and have made significant progress. Again, knocking on wood, being optimistic, I think we have at least 1, maybe 2 more sessions with the police. I think we've largely resolved all of the major issues and are operating within the budget allocation that I identified. We still have, I think, maybe a couple more sessions at least to go with fire, because we started a little bit later with them, and we postponed 1 session, so we're still going to catch up with where we think we need to be. So that's an awful lot of work activity. We are also closing up as best we can a lot of projects because we're opening up a new set. So as far as South Street goes, in terms of where we stand with the project, we're going to button up for the winter, so you'll notice some of the hydro seeding was done and some of the close up. We'll do the finish coat of pavement in the spring. And just a word about this, because, I think we all come into public service and we want to fix problems for everybody. We want everybody to leave our office completely satisfied and happy with the answer that they got, and that we're not overtaxing the people to pay for those solutions. Unfortunately, in any rural community with the topography that Douglas has, as you change things, as you take trees off the land and pave more driveways and open up more backyards on the kinds of grades that we have, you're substantially changing the way water moves around the town. Not to mention the fact that really, in the last 20 years, it is substantially and really noticeably much wetter in Worcester County than it was for the first 80 years that records were kept. I looked at these figures and was really impressed by the fact that really wasn't that long ago, early in our lifetimes, Worcester County would get 35, 38 inches of rain a year. And now we're routinely getting more than 45, closer to 50 on a routine basis. That is a lot of water. It needs to go somewhere. And a lot of the conventions that were established when the roadways were built in this town and the way they run actually perpendicular to the flow of water, a lot of roadways actually act like dams, and they stop the water on one side from flowing over to the other, which by the time you get to the bottom of the hill becomes a really big problem. So the classic engineering solution is to distribute that water as evenly as possible at every step of the grade, and then to basically build small reservoirs that hold the water and they don't flow out onto other people's property until you've reached an extreme condition. Unfortunately this year, the ground is saturated, the groundwater is fully recharged, and we keep getting rain. So we are in a tough spot trying to convince people that we have a good solution for stormwater. But our obligation under the law is only to maintain the systems we have to the best of our ability and to protect people to the best of our ability in the tight spaces that we have. This was $1 million project, so we can't take lightly the engineering that went into this and the need for the pavement on the road to have longevity. South Street is one of our most heavily traveled thoroughfares in town. It was in really bad condition, so from Arch Street to Hemlock, which is the section that we decided to pave, was by far the worst. We have school buses and all kinds of traffic going up and down that road. So the hope is we'll prioritize for pavement those areas of town where the pavement is in the worst condition and the people use the road the most. And so this is the ongoing rollout of this program. So we've been dealing with any number of technical issues that have arisen as this project comes to a conclusion. We're also finishing up the sidewalk on North Street and negotiations there, just so that contractor there has submitted for significantly more money than they bid, and they never sent me a change order. I feel no obligation under the law to sign a change order for work that was performed that was above and beyond the spec that was bid. So we're having a little bit of a Donnybrook with our friends at Lynch, but I believe the position I'm taking is reasonable, which is that so we went out, we measured every last thing to the micrometer, right? To see if there was any way we could go in that direction. There's clearly some work that they did that was above and beyond the spec that we want to pay for because it was extremely well done. So the handwork that Lynch's crews did on the pavement around people's driveways was very well received by the residents, and it was really top-notch pavement work. So we will accept that change order because it's above and beyond what was spec'd. And there's a little bit more sidewalk was poured than was in the dimensions of the spec. Actually, they had to go another 100 feet. But above and beyond that, it's not really my problem that they didn't pay attention to what they were doing. They had a contract that had a spec in it, and that's where we sit with them. So there might be some noise about this back and forth, but it's where we stand on it. Other things that the public uses, we have our ongoing travail out here in the parking lot with the electric chargers for vehicles. I swear, I feel like I'm becoming an expert in these things. I have asked this week, and I copied the state rep and state senator on the notice, the granting agency that gave Douglas the $50,000 to purchase those stations, I'm asking for their release to rip and replace what's there and get rid of them. That vendor has not proven to be capable of good customer service. The technical aspect, it seems like they were very poorly installed, so when we get bad weather or wetness, we have ongoing problems with the charger, and they trip the breakers down in the basement, and we have to keep resetting everything until everything dries up and it goes back to normal. That's really no way to run a popsicle stand if you have level 2 chargers, so we're going to just try to get rid of them. I want to keep going through all of the things that we've had pending. I think that it really does explain a large portion of where we've ended up with just a lot of time being spent on talks and doing the budget. Cautiously optimistic that we'll be well prepared for Springtown meeting. By that I mean that the contracts would be done before the turn of the year. And we had the opportunity to look at their fiscal impact, put them on the warrant, post them for public view. The only other thing I have coming to the board's attention soon is I have 3 of our 4 top managerial positions in fire and police department are also up this year. And it would be nice to get those contracts done at the same time as their collective bargaining unit, so we'll bring everything in, just get it done. So I did allocate funds within the budget for that. So what new projects are going to open up? See lots of little colored flags. We are not playing croquet out here in the front lawn. It's not a maze. All those colors mean something. We're going to be opening up the ground real soon and getting prepared for the whole building generator, backup generator to be installed. We've decided to move the generator forward in the lot, so instead of being back against the gym, the contractor's feeling was that created a really difficult situation for getting fuel into the tank. You have to come a long way off the distance from the street with the hose to get it in the tank, and offered no additional sound buffering at all. It really actually created a bit of a reflective surface for sound, so we're going to bring it all the way out in front. So you'll see 4 corner markers where the generator is going to go on a concrete pad. The tank will be on the bottom, the generator will sit on top of it. There'll be stairways for servicing the generator installed as well on the side. We will, at some point this winter, because we are expecting the generator to arrive in the 2nd or 3rd week of January. That was the latest. It will ship from the manufacturer this month and should be here in the middle of January. We will have a day or 2 of discomfort at Town Hall when we cut over the service from the street and wire up the whole building generator properly. And right now the plan is to have a portable generator brought in that would hook up and at least run the police department and other critical systems like heat in the building. We may not be fully operational. The closer we get, the more we'll understand. But this is a necessary part of so-called hardening this building and making it more resilient, is we really do need a generator bigger than 30 kW. The old generator is going to be demolished and removed, and will no longer be sitting in the back of the building, so that'll be gone. The other project that we're getting ready to go out to bid, we have one last meeting I think we need to have on the roof of this building, some technical questions to resolve before the bid package is complete. But once that goes out, the idea would be to have that work done in the summer. So that's where we stand there. The only other bid I'm trying to get out the door is for security cameras at the schools. That bid package is done. It was really just a matter of getting the timing to work with the school schedule. This is a hard one to do because we cannot disclose too much information. It's the whole idea of security is to make the buildings, to not reveal all your secrets. At the same time, the contractor must have sufficient detail to know what they're bidding on when they get the package. So the way we're going to solve that problem is we're going to have a mandatory site walk with everybody who's pulled the bid package. You have to come, you have to look at the place, you have to listen. So it's timing that so you're not interfering with the educational process for that as well as for the full install. The last thing that we're finishing up in terms of ARPA funding is, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, we're switching over the phones December 12th?
Yes. Yes, the 12th.
Here in Town Hall. So we're going to be switching to our new phone system, but it's already been installed in our smaller outlying buildings. It was time, so some of our equipment's getting old, but there was also the issue of getting everybody on the same system, so we could all call each other on intercom instead of having to dial numbers, yada, yada, yada. But we're just going to completely get away from any analog phone system, and we will still have analog backups for the police, but everything else here will be voice over internet protocol. We will be more dependent than ever on an electrical connection, which is why we really need the generator, and
Internet.
That's all I think I should go into at this point.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. All right, any open session topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of this meeting?
What are we doing with this disclosure?
I thought you wanted them to see it. It's addressed to them as well.
No, they have to vote.
So that just came in, correct?
Yes.
So we can do that under the 48 hours not reasonably anticipated?
Is that where we want to do it?
We can.
Yep.
So,
This is one of a lot of the ethics rules are as thick as mud and can be very confusing. There are two things being done in this letter that are actually separate. Whenever there's an appearance of a conflict, you must disclose it, even if there is no actual conflict. The Ethics Commission wants everybody to have confidence in our institutions, so if there is the appearance, then there's an explanation. It gets held as a public record. Interested parties can pull those things and read them. When there is actually a conflict, so when the relationships that are involved meet all the formula criteria to be considered a conflict, it is not necessarily prohibited behavior if the appointing authority or oversight authority is willing to take a vote that says, trying to find the exact language, that the municipal employee shall act in a manner which would cause a reasonable person, having knowledge of the relevant circumstances, to conclude that any person can improperly influence or unduly enjoy his favor in the performance of his official duties, or that he is likely to fail to act or fail to act as a result of kinship, rank, position, or undue influence of any party or person. So basically, what the letter is asking you to do is not only take note of the potential or appearance of conflict, but to allow the relationships to continue, notwithstanding the existence of a conflict. Now, over the course of, I think, more than a decade, this has been routinely addressed by the select board because we do have different, not only one, different families in town that have had multiple relations, that have worked together or for the town in different capacities at the same time. And that's especially true at the highway department. And what we have currently, the situation that's being disclosed to you is that the acting highway superintendent will be in a position where he would be managing his father, who would be coming in to help plow. He's no longer a full-time employee of the town, but would be operating a plow. And his son, who serves as a seasonal co-op type worker. Now, in the case of the seasonal co-op, that appointment, I'm the appointing authority, so Adam doesn't appoint his father, he doesn't appoint his son. I did that. We advertised that position in many different locations and only got that application, and it was somebody who had worked with us before as a seasonal worker. So I really feel like there is no issue here. I'm really not concerned about father managing son because it's a seasonal deal and it's, very limited range of duties that seasonal workers do for us. We're not, and in the case of son managing father, again, it is part-time for a very specific purpose. So we're not evaluating the employee doesn't get benefits, the employee has retired and is drawing retirement and is allowed only to do so much. We're not going to be evaluating performance. And frankly, if the road doesn't get plowed properly, I have every confidence that the superintendent would make a change because it would reflect on him if the road wasn't done well. So my recommendation to you is to go ahead and take that vote and allow these relationships to go on. Now, as far as things like payroll change notices or other official documents, I think the last one I saw, I signed it. I have asked the superintendent, the acting superintendent, not to sign those documents, just so that there isn't any appearance. As personnel director, it's my signature that's binding on it anyway, so I think that's the most relevant relationship. I think I've said enough. I think we all know where we stand on.
Yes, and I don't see any issue with it. The positions were already established before the change in the status of the acting superintendent.
That's correct. These people have worked together for quite a while. The other thing I do want to mention, just because it's part of public information, you can call it that. I think we are in an excellent position for plowing if it does snow heavily this winter. I think we have enough people to do it at the right rate. But we did have a setback, so we do have, a couple of highway workers retiring this year, and Dave Furner retired last year. So of the 5, 3 have left and retired. When the retirees come back and drive for us, it's a huge bonus to the town because they know the routes and they know our equipment, and it really does help us avoid trouble. And we know them. So when we're managing them, we can notice if they're tired or all the rest of it. So it's in the best interest of the town for these things to continue. But your formal vote is kind of a blessing on
But you want to try and phrase this one?
Well, this is what I'm trying to think of how this one needs to be phrased.
Just freestyle it. You just got it. Make a motion that we gladly accept appreciation for letting us know of the highways relationships. We have no concerns with,
Acknowledging the appearance of a conflict.
I was going to get there, but we'll take it.
Yeah, you said freestyle.
Yeah. That's my motion.
Second.
Does that cover it, Matt?
I think it,
Fair enough. We get the gist of it.
yep.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing as none, all those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. Okay. And that brings us to a Bowman motion that is required.
Well, before we do that, I just want to give a shout out to the people and companies that made the town common so very nice.
Yeah,
It's,
good. That is. Yeah, look sharp.
I don't exactly know how that all came to be, but I told one person who I think was involved in it that it's kind of a defining moment in the town, and I hope we were able to continue that year after year. But pursuant
Oh,
to...
before you do that, though, I heard rumor to the fact that someone in our company has a old video of a spectacular catch as a catcher or something like that. No?
I just don't know where you're going with this.
Didn't you have a, or was that a picture? Was it a video or a picture of you making a
I
catch?
made the mistake of telling Selectman Fitzpatrick the video you shared with me from your high school championship game.
Oh, yeah,
How did
yeah.
that ball
Well,
away
I'm
from you?
just trying to help
The guy
you
on the
relive
third,
the
I'm
glory
trying to
days here a
remember
little
exactly
bit.
what you-
Yeah. Well, if the townspeople want it, they can see that video on Twitter.
Oh, all right.
If anything, it will prove to anyone and everyone in town that Selectman Bonin can take a punch. There was a play at the plate, and it does go down in Central Mass folklore as a hard-nosed baseball player.
Good.
And you can find that at TP Bonin. That's funny. I love talking about the video. But I want to make a motion today that we move into executive session for the sole purpose of litigation of Shore Road issue, and then to leave executive session for the sole purpose of adjournment.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Postma, aye.
Fitzpatrick, aye?
Morris, aye. Tim, use your Twitter handle for your...
Smith, aye.
Yeah.